Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Allaria, partner and wealth advisor with CarsonAllaria Wealth Management. And welcome to this video on the right way to build your financial house. Now, is there a right way to build a financial house, to build wealth, to start building toward your financial future? Yes, I think there is. And I think there's a wrong way. And I'm going to get into some of the reasons that I think there's a right way and a wrong way. But I often hear this and get this question so much. A lot of times when I visit our 401k clients and I meet with employees on site, and they'll ask me about investing and they want to get started in investing. And so many younger people want to do this, and that's good. That's the right mindset, that they want to get started, but it doesn't start with investing. There's other things that you need to do first before you jump into putting money in a 401k or putting money into a retirement account. And we'll get into that and the reasons for that in just a bit. So let's just jump in. This isn't meant to be overly complicated, but we're going to talk about how to properly build your financial house. And just like any house, you have phases. And as someone who has seen many houses being built in my own neighborhood over the last 6 years, I can tell you at the beginning, there's the foundation. And after the foundation, then we start framing the house up, right? And then last but not least, we put on the roof. And if you try to put the roof on without a foundation, it's not going to go well. It's just not going to work. It's going to come crumbling down. And so you have to understand this, that there are phases when you're building your financial house. And the first phase is not stuff that is very exciting, but there are three things that are extremely important in that first phase, in that foundational phase. And the first is emergency savings. So you might have heard this, but you should have 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in an emergency savings. Where did I get that? Well, I got it from the Certified Financial Planning Board. And as a certified financial planner, I try to educate people on this all the time, that if you don't have an emergency fund, you need to start there and build that up. Because if something happens, God forbid, your transmission goes out, you need something repaired on your home, you have a medical bill show up, you got to have some money there to pay for those things that are unexpected if you don't want to go into high interest credit card debt. So the Certified Financial Planning Board says if you have two incomes in your home, then you can be closer to that 3 month window, 3 months of living expenses. If you have one person in the home bringing home income, or maybe the total household income is really unbalanced and one person brings the vast majority, then you'd probably want to be closer to the 6 months worth of living expenses. And I think the biggest risk here is that you lose your job, you lose that income. Well, again, if you have just one person, if you're by yourself and you lose your job, it might take you a little bit to go find another job. And it could take 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, but that's the biggest risk, I believe, to working people, is losing your job and having to go and replace your income. So that's number one on the foundational phase. And then we talked about it a little bit, but if you don't have an emergency fund and something comes up, there's a chance that you're going to go into high interest debt. And so credit card debt, double digit interest rate debt, we have to get those things paid off. And to be quite honest, if you have high interest debt, and when I speak to people that have high interest debt, I often recommend that they just start paying that off first, even before building an emergency fund, because the high interest debt is eating away at their finances every second of every day. I often recommend knock that out first. Then once your high interest debt's paid off, move over and start building up your emergency savings. Now, is a mortgage high interest debt? For most people, it's not. And I'm thinking double digits. I'm thinking credit cards. That's really the big one. But anything 10% or more, you really have to prioritize. You almost have to stop doing everything else that you're doing and address that debt. So we have paying down the debt, we have building an emergency savings, and then getting a basic amount of insurance. That could mean health insurance, that could mean life insurance, it might mean disability insurance. for higher earning professionals, higher earning medical professionals, or anyone who's highly relying on their income. And maybe you have a lot of debt from school because you went to school to be a doctor and you've got a bunch of debt and you need to be able to perform the duties that a doctor performs and be paid to pay your debt down. So in that case, maybe disability insurance. But I think for most people, basic health insurance and basic life insurance, if anyone is relying on your income. So that can be accomplished through term life insurance. And most employers do provide health insurance. So that's good. So notice I didn't say 401k, I didn't say IRA, I didn't say stock, and I didn't say bond, because if you don't have these three things taken care of, you should not even be talking about those other investments, in my opinion. But after you do have those three things solidified and in good shape, then you can move to that intermediate phase. And in the intermediate phase, we start to talk about retirement planning. Because someday, even if we wanted to work forever, most of us won't be able to work forever until we die. And most people don't want to. Most people want to retire as soon as possible. So for you and for most people out there, you need to start thinking about retirement as soon as you have those first three things taken care of, and start saving as soon as possible. And that is where we talk about 401k, Roth IRAs, retirement accounts. That's where we talk about those things. And that's where we want to start doing something. And what should you do? Well, you could look at lots of studies out there, and this all depends on your age, but you need to take into consideration what your employer is doing for you as well. But I think a lot of people need to start aiming for 15 to 25% of their income that they need to be saving toward retirement. Now, if my employer does 5, there you go. That's 5% that I don't have to do, but I still need to do another 10%. That is a very broad rule of thumb. I just think that that number is much higher than most people think it is. Most people might think if I do 5% forever, I'm fine. And I don't see that. I don't think that's the case based on the hundreds of people that I've met with, the hundreds of people that I've reviewed their finances. I just don't think 5% gets you there unless your employer is doing a whole heck of a lot for you, unless you have a pension of some kind. 5%, 4%, 3% forever. I just don't think that's going to cut it. But have someone look at your situation, but that's where you start talking about saving into those retirement accounts. And I really think that that's, all of these things I'm going to talk about in the intermediate phase, they're all on level 2, but I really think retirement planning is level 2.1. So I really think that needs to take priority. But in addition to that, you have other issues. You have estate planning, you have a tax planning, goal planning, and there are a lot of things that you really need to look at your situation. But let's say you have children, you're married, you have no will, no powers of attorney. That's really something you should look into getting and talk with an attorney about getting those drafted. It's usually a one-time thing. At least it lasts you for a while. But write down who you want your guardian to be for your kids. Write down how you want your money to be distributed if you were to pass away. So that's an important goal. And then goal planning, that could be buying a house. That could be saving for your kids' college. So these are things that might be really important to you. And yes, you need to think about, I don't think you can put aside retirement, but maybe you don't accelerate it as much as you eventually will, because you have some of these other shorter term goals. So that's where you look into other types of investments, personal investments, brokerage accounts. Maybe you want to invest in real estate. These are all things done on the intermediate phase. And I would say, as it's shown here, in conjunction with retirement planning and saving into those retirement accounts. If you're saving 10% into your retirement account and your employer does 5, or they do 4, they do 3, and you're on a good track, and you want to save some in addition to that for your own personal goals, I think you're in great shape to get that done. So that's the intermediate phase. We talked about the foundational phase, the intermediate phase, last but not least, the aspirational phase. These are things like legacy, fulfillment, and impact. These are things that after I'm on track, or I have saved everything I want to save for retirement, or I'm saving everything I need to save. I've saved everything I need to save for my own personal goals. I've got my estate plan in order. I'm taking advantage of everything I can from a tax standpoint. Now I have goals that go beyond me, that go toward good causes, toward charitable causes, or toward my kids or grandkids. And so that's really the fun part. That's the phase we all hope to get to someday. That is financial independence, the top of the pyramid. Your house is complete. But, for example, I kind of go back to goal planning. A lot of times people will put those type of goals ahead of these other things, and they're putting their long-term financial picture at risk. And one of the big ones is college planning for my kids. And this probably falls under goal planning. But if you're not saving for retirement, you don't have an emergency fund, you've got credit card debt or whatever, you probably need to hold off on thinking about putting away a few $100s a month for your kids' college education. Rest assured, they'll be able to get a loan for their college education. And you may not want that to be the case, but no one will give you a loan for retirement. So that needs to be prioritized over, in my opinion, saving for your kids' college. I'm not against it. I support the goals of my clients and people I talk to that want to help their kids. I want to help my kids, but you have to prioritize. It's kind of like when you're on that airplane and the flight attendant, before you take off, they say, make sure in the event that the oxygen masks fall down, make sure you put your oxygen mask on first before trying to assist your child. Because this is the same way. If I'm on an airplane and I'm passed out, I can't help my child much, can I? So if I'm saving for my kids' college and I save nothing for myself, I'm probably going to be moving into my kid's house, in the future whenever I run out of money or I can't retire. They're going to have to take care of me because I haven't been taking care and saving for myself. So we don't want that. We want to put ourselves in the driver's seat as much as we can. And hopefully this little video helped you to think about the priority of how you go about doing this. I want you to save for your retirement. I want you to put money in that 401k. I want to get started just like you. But sometimes we got to take a step back. We got to do the necessities, take care of that foundational phase first before we get started. So with that being said, hopefully, again, you got some good ideas in this video. If you have any questions, you want to reach out, you can always contact us. You could go to our website, CarsonAllaria.com, and we offer a free 15-minute phone call for any of you that are watching, that are out there, that are not clients. You can schedule those calls. Any employees of our 401k clients can call and schedule with us an appointment anytime, and we're happy to answer your questions and help you with whatever you need. So stay tuned for more videos and be sure to tune into the Retirement Power Hour, which is a podcast that helps listeners invest wiser and retire better, especially for those that are getting close to retirement. You can find it on Spotify and on Apple and on most major podcast networks, the Retirement Power Hour podcast. With that, I'm Joe Allaria, partner and wealth advisor with CarsonAllaria Wealth Management. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you soon.